Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a look at my January 2024 TBR. If you're interested in seeing what books I want to read this month, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, this is going to be my January 2024 TBR. Before we get into that, I just filmed 2 other book-related videos. So if my shirt looks familiar, if the background looks familiar, if the poor lighting looks familiar, if the bad volume looks familiar, that is why. I am filming on a very dreary day. We have not had sun where I am in a long time. I am filming with other people in the house, so I'm using a mic to hopefully cut down on some background volume. Hopefully that works out. And it is starting to get dark. It is starting to get dark even though it's like 2 in the afternoon. So I'm trying to film this video before it gets too dark. And yeah, that's what's going on. Now let's get into what you're really here for, which is my January 2024 TBR. I'm actually realizing that I'm balancing my phone, which is how I record my videos, on my TBR. I'm balancing it on my TBR right now. Let me switch the pile of books that I'm using to hold up my phone, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have switched the pile of books that my phone is on. My mic is in a little bit of a different area, but hopefully that doesn't affect the volume too much. I am very excited about the books that I chose for my January 2024 TBR. One of my goals in 2024, which I actually didn't talk about in my 2023 recap when I talked about my goals, is that I want to have shorter TBRs this year. And if I have a shorter TBR, I can still accomplish reading all the books on my TBR while also allowing myself to read as the mood strikes me. And I really just feel like that's the sweet spot for me with regards to a TBR. So I'm really intending on having TBRs that are 6 books, maybe occasionally 8 books for 2024. The first book that we are going to talk about on my January 2024 TBR is one that I have been wanting to read for a while. I decided to save it as the first book that I would read in 2024, and that is Powerless by by Lauren Roberts. Heard so much good stuff about this one, really intrigued. I know that it is fantasy with romance. I've heard that it's enemies to lovers. I don't usually do too well with enemies to lovers as a trope, but I've heard people go bananas over this romance, so I'm really excited about it. I think it has the potential to live up to that enemies to lovers trope for me, and this is going to be the first book that I read in 2024. I'm actually filming this on January 1st. I actually started this book this morning. I am on chapter 3, so barely into it at all, but very excited about this one. The next book that we're going to talk about is actually my Instagram challenge book for January 2024. My Instagram challenge is where I ask people on Instagram to recommend me books, and I read 1 book per month. And I've been doing this for the last couple of years. I love doing it. It allows me to discover books that I probably wouldn't have otherwise, and I've definitely found several 5-star reads through this challenge. And my book for January, it's going to be A Not So Meet Cute by Meghan Quinn, and this was recommended to me by Artsy Reads and Plans. She has recommended so many books to me. I have always loved the books that she recommends to me, so I'm super excited to give this a read. This one has definitely been on my radar. I don't have it physically because I know that it is on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm going to read it on my Kindle. I know it is part of a series. I don't know if it's the same couple throughout or if it's interconnected standalones, but I know that Alex said that the whole series is good, so I'm excited to read this because I love a good series, especially a good romance series. So if this one ends up being good, I'm really excited to read the other 2 books in the series throughout this year. The next book that we're going to talk about, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this one. And it's a new release. I did put out a video of my most anticipated new releases of 2024, and this book was on that list, and that is The Atlas Complex by Olivie Blake. This is the third book in a trilogy. I am so excited for this. I cannot wait to see how this trilogy is going to be wrapped up. I love this story. I love the characters in this story. It is a fantasy, but I think you would classify it as an urban fantasy or a modern fantasy because it seems to take place in modern times, but there is also magic. It is very dark academia, which I really liked, especially in the first book, and I'm just so curious as to how this storyline is going to wrap up. One thing about this one, which also applies to Powerless as well, is that this book here is part of my 24 books in 2024 reading challenge. I randomly picked 24 books that I want to read this year, and The Atlas Complex is on that challenge. It's also a fantasy, so I can use it as a part of my fantasy challenge where I want to read one fantasy book a month. I also have a genre challenge where there's like 8 or 10 different genres I'm trying to read from this year, and fantasy is one of those, so it could apply to that as well. And again, same thing with Powerless. This is part of my 24 in 24 challenge, and it is a fantasy, so it could apply to that fantasy challenge or to my genre challenge. The next book is an ARC that I received a physical copy of. I forget when this is coming out. I think it is coming out in January, but they sent me the finalized copy of it, which is so, so nice. So thank you so much to Simon & Schuster for this one, and that is The Bullet Swallower by Elizabeth Gonzalez James. And I believe this is a Western fiction book. I have never read something like this before. I am highly curious about this. The cover is, to me, pretty darn stunning, so I'm thoroughly intrigued to see how I'm going to feel about this. It's also pretty short, which is nice. The next book that we're going to talk about is another ARC. I think this one also comes out in January. I will put the release dates on the screen since I don't know them off the top of my head. And this one, I love the cover and the title is very intriguing to me. And that is Maude Horton's Glorious Revenge by Lizzie Pook. I hope I'm saying that last name right. Look at this cover is gorgeous. I mean, like, look at that gold on there. Oh, so, so pretty. And I want to know who Maude Horton is, and I want to know about their revenge. Highly intriguing title to me. Definitely one that I am very interested in. I believe this is considered historical fiction, so I could use this as part of my genre challenge for historical fiction. And yeah, I'm like really pumped and excited about this one. This is one of the ones that I'm most excited about for this month. And then the last book that is on my TBR for January 2024 is another ARC. This one I received a physical copy of from Simon & Schuster. Oh, Maude Horton's Glorious Revenge is also from Simon & Schuster, so thank you to them for sending me this. Thank you to them for sending me this next one, which is Set for Life by Andrew Ewell. I will tell you, I got an email, as I do I think every quarter or every season, with a bunch of books that I could request an ARC for, and it includes their synopsis, and I know I read the synopsis to this book, and it really caught my attention. Like, I read the synopsis and I was like, whoa, I really want to read that book. That seems like a pretty awesome book. I cannot for the life of me remember what that synopsis was. And honestly, I'm actually pretty excited about that I'm going to now go into this book blind. But this book is going to be coming out on February 6th. So I definitely want to read it this month before it releases. That way I could put my review up for all of you guys. Definitely very curious about it. And this is considered contemporary fiction, which is a genre in my genre challenge. So it will apply to that. And those are the 6 books that are in my TBR for January 2024. I am so excited about all of these reads, like genuinely excited about all of these reads. A lot of these are out of my comfort zone, and I'm happy about that. I want to dive more out of my comfort zone this year when it comes to reading. I want to read more fantasy. I want to read more other genres, and I really feel like January's TBR is setting me up to do that for the rest of the year. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.